Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. Let's just jump right in. I'll give you the latest news that's emerging out of DC today. Information that's relevant to our country, information that impacts our economy, and most importantly, information that affects your money and your wallet. Let's get started. Some pretty interesting announcements today. I have to warn you, it's not all good news, but again, you've come to rely on me for giving you the truth wherever that might lead us, and that's what you'll get on our channel today. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Jeff Stein from the Washington Post, and Jeff announces bleak news. Stick with me here. More talk of a second stopgap extension of government funding next week. Keep in mind that the government funding extension has passed the House and the Senate for 1 week, which means they're supposed to come to an agreement, hopefully, about a larger $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill that will extend the funding of the government for a year and hopefully have some stimulus thrown in. But in another astonishing piece of news, it looks like they might try to kick the can down the road further. In other words, there could be a second stopgap funding bill next week. That would be horrible. This essentially would mean that stimulus talks would go past Christmas, which by extension means, and this is the shocking part, unemployment for 12 plus million Americans. I'm talking about the PUA program, the PEUC program, which expires at the end of December. These programs would essentially be gone unless there is any congressional legislation for extension. Just incredible that I'm even reporting this. So unemployment for 12 plus million of our fellow Americans. The PUA program, the PEUC program ends on the 26th of December. The eviction ban ends on the 31st of December. In short, stimulus talks are running off a cliff. And on your screen, you'll see a tweet from Igor Bobik, who's a politics reporter at Huffington Post, and he's quoting John Thune, who's a Republican senator from South Dakota. Thune says that talks on liability are pretty much at a dead end because liability protection is a serious issue, is an important issue for the Republicans, but that there's been some discussion in the bipartisan group about getting rid of state and local and putting stimulus checks in lieu of that. This is presumably to appease the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. So again, this is reporting from Igor Bobik, who's a politics reporter at the Huffington Post, about comments made by John Thune, Republican senator from South Dakota. And Jeff Stein responded to that, saying that there's a lot of chatter about this idea. Drop the liability shield, drop state and local aid, which by the way is an idea that came from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, add in stimulus checks, which is something that the president clearly wants, which is something that the administration wants, because that was in the $916 billion proposal that was proposed by U.S. Trade Secretary Steven Mnuchin. This essentially means that the two sides are trying to now get closer and closer to an agreement that could get buy-in from both sides, because keep in mind, we do have the House led by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats, and the Senate led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and then we have President Trump in the White House. So, we don't know if Democrats would accept this. In fact, Jeff Stein goes so far as to say, unlikely Democrats would accept the package without state and local. Also, like I mentioned earlier, both the House and the Senate have passed the government extension, avoiding the government shutdown by a week, just by a week. So it's kind of kicking the can down the road. You'll see this tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein of the Washington Post. Senate approves the bill to keep government funded for next week. White House said that Trump is going to sign it. So it looks like there will not be a government shutdown because the president has to sign this bill by the end of the day today. Otherwise, the government would have been shut down tomorrow. So looks like there's going to be more drama continuing into next week. Here's another tweet on your screen also from Jeff Stein, who actually reported something that Bernie Sanders from Vermont said. Sanders says he will agree today to fund the government for a week, but warns, I am prepared to withdraw my objection at this moment. In other words, his objection to the fact that there are no stimulus checks in the funding bill that is being passed today. He said, I will not be prepared to withdraw an objection next week. So that's interesting. It's interesting that a politician will say, I am withdrawing my objection, but I will not be prepared to withdraw my objection come next week. That's like saying, I don't like something, but I am willing to not say that I don't like something next week. So there you have... There you have politicians. So he said, we will deal with the financial crisis facing tens of millions of Americans. It's interesting that politicians can shift their position and yet put a nice little bow around it saying, look, I am righteous and I am awesome. And by the way, this isn't a dig at Bernie Sanders. This is a dig at everybody. I've mentioned this before. Our politicians are playing chess. You see the chessboard on your screen. House Speaker Pelosi has kept shifting her position. Senate Majority Leader has kept shifting his position. The president certainly has kept shifting his position. So, these are the games they play while our fellow Americans in travel leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have lost their jobs forever. While people struggle to put food on the table, struggle to pay rent, struggle to keep the lights on. So just unfortunate that this is even happening. Here's a tweet on your screen from Jake Sherman from Politico. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, President Trump, both want stimulus checks. Now the question is, can they figure out what they want to do with it? And he's following up on a tweet from Eric Wasson. Eric reports on Congress for Bloomberg News. And Eric said that Sanders said on the Senate floor next week he won't back down when there's a December 18 government shutdown deadline to get $1,200 stimulus checks. It sounds like things are going to come to a head next week. So what's the bottom line right now and where are we? Jake Sherman from Politico does a good job summarizing this. You'll see this tweet on your screen. There's no shutdown this week. The Senate essentially said yes to a government funding bill, and so did Congress. And the deadline has been kicked back to next week. Now keep in mind, there is talk, and Jeff Stein from the Washington Post reported this, that they could further kick the can down the road next week, which would mean no stimulus bill next week. Honestly, this would be shocking. And at the same time, it would not be shocking because Congress really hasn't come through for us lately. It's unbelievable how they continue arguing, how they continue bickering, even after the election. This just shows how deeply divided we are as a country. The bipartisan Senate committee is now chatting about a smaller, non-controversial elements of the COVID bill. In other words, they're saying, all right, we recognize that liability protection, we recognize that aid for state and local governments is a tough nut to crack. It's going to take more time. So let's set that aside and let's pass what we can pass and get help to those people who need it the most, which makes sense. But I mean, at some point, we're going to have to tackle the bigger issues as well. We've been talking about the bigger issues for months. We, meaning House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on one side and the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin on the other side, have been talking for months. Those talks fell apart before the election. And the third point is strong push from the Republican Senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley. Very impressive what he's been doing. I did do a detailed video on Josh Hawley's push for the $1,200 stimulus checks yesterday. And Bernie Sanders from Vermont for direct payments. These are the two senators who are really pushing for direct payments. Now, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib from Michigan have also been pushing for stimulus checks. But these two senators, Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders, they're trying to push for this, and let's see if they can get other senators on board. Now, we're really in a dire situation as a country. This is a tweet from Heather Long from the Washington Post. 12 million Americans are behind on rent. In fact, the average amount of debt for these 12 million renters is $5,400. These are the latest numbers. That debt has been gradually increasing. 26 million of our fellow Americans are going hungry. Blows my mind to even talk about this. 12 million are about to lose unemployment benefits at the end of the year. Shoplifting for food like bread and baby food is on the rise. Very hard when I report information like this, but I've promised to report on Ignition Time. I promised to report the truth and wherever that might lead us. Speaking of where that might lead us, the Senate, you'll see this tweet on your screen from Burgess Everett, who's a Politico congressional reporter. And he reported that the Senate has also adjourned until Monday of next week. And next week is going to be absolutely bananas. Here's a tweet on your screen, speaking of bananas, from Seung Min Kim, also from the Washington Post. And the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, told the FDA Chief Stephen Hahn that if the FDA, the agency, did not greenlight the Pfizer vaccine by the end of the day, he should resign. They were originally going to announce it tomorrow, the approval, but they've accelerated that announcement to today because of pressure from the White House. And speaking of what's happening up in DC, you'll see this article on your screen from Politico. Hill leaders press forward on COVID relief talks. And it looks like congressional leaders are still talking, still trying to work things out. Politico reports that committee leaders in both chambers have begun negotiating legislative text for non-controversial aspects of the relief package, including small business funding, according to senior aides who are familiar with the matter. Democrats are trying to work closely with Republican senators to reach a broader deal instead of their original proposal, because they recognize that the two big areas of contention, the aid for state and local governments and liability protection, are simply not going to be worked out in short order, which is the need of the hour. Here's a comment from the Senate Majority Whip John Thune. The negotiations on the spending bill and the COVID stuff that would travel with that, I think that is trending in the right direction. Thune Moon confirmed that the ongoing bipartisan talks focusing on the $908 billion deal are a different negotiation than what's happening right now at the so-called Big Four level, meaning the four congressional leaders, the top leaders who are making the decisions here. And he said, I'm just hoping we get there, and I think we will. I think we'll get something. But that's what we've been hearing for a long time. I mean, it's time for them to finally come together. Keep in mind, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer still taking shots at each other. Today on the floor of the Senate, and this is a quote from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, we know what common ground looks like. And he was talking about trying to come to some sort of a consensus. He said, day after day, the Democratic leader finds new reasons not to compromise, new ways to avoid taking yes for an answer. To which Schumer responded, now it's December and we still, because of the leader's intransigence, have nothing of significance to help the American people during the worst economic crisis in 75 years. So that's where things stand, everybody. Still a gridlock. And speaking of gridlock, here's a final tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein from the Washington Post. Jeff is trying to compare the original Mnuchin proposal, which again included stimulus checks, and the proposal from the Senate bipartisan leaders, which did not include stimulus checks, but included $300 a week. You see this chart on your screen, which actually stacks the two proposals side by side. This is a very well-planned outline. Again, full credit to Jeff Stein from the Washington Post. And as we can see, unemployment aid is $40 billion in the White House proposal, $180 billion in the bipartisan proposal, which is why the $300 a week is included. But the main area that sort of shifts things around is if you look at stimulus checks 2.0, the White House proposal includes $146 billion for stimulus checks, $600 per person. And the bipartisan proposal includes zero for stimulus checks. In all the other areas, they are more or less the same, with the exception of PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, where the White House proposal had a little bit more, and with the exception of a few other areas where there's a little bit more money in other areas. And there are a few other areas where there are small differences in the numbers. But overall, the two are almost identical, and it's unbelievable that they're still arguing about this when they're oh so close. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. What is the Ignition Time channel? The Ignition Time channel is important news, important information, important strategies, important tactics to help you understand the way the country works, the way the economy works, how the system works, and how to take advantage of the system and grow your money. I believe the system is rigged, and you need to understand how the system works if you have to work the system and grow and be successful. That's how I was able to live and achieve my American dream. I want to help you live your American dream. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. Please get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to SMS alerts list. You can opt out of the SMS alerts at any time. You'll get important news, you'll get breaking news, and you'll get important announcements from us if we ever release any programs. You can opt out of the SMS alerts at any point in time. You can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts. You'll get added to our email list. If you want, you can also get added to our Instagram followers list, and you can follow us on Instagram. We release exclusive news and content specifically on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. You can also, if you want, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. We would really appreciate having you with us as part of our growing Twitter community. Sometimes YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you'll be able to visit the homepage of our channel and check out our videos at any point in time that you want. Also, if you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please subscribe and please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. Also, remember, we always include links to all of our resources always in the description section, so you can check out our resources for yourself. And also, please comment below. Join our growing community. You'll make new friends. The thing I'm most proud about as far as our community is concerned, it's a growing community, it's bipartisan, it's respectful, it's highly intelligent. So become a part of our growing community. Also, please share this video with friends and family. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.